Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I have invited Rohit Verma. So currently he is working at Google as a tech lead and previously he worked at Facebook. So in this video we will discuss about Facebook interview experience and uh, as he worked at Facebook London. So बहुत लोगों का एम होता है कि उन्हें अब्रॉड जाके काम करना है, तो इन्हें कैसे अब्रॉड से ऑफर मिली ये सब कुछ हम लोग इस वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे. So thank you Rohit, thank you for accepting our invitation. So can you give us your quick introduction so that our viewer will get to know about you?
Sure. Thank you, Amritanjali, for inviting me. And I'll introduce myself now. So my name is Rohit. I have around 10 years of experience as a software engineer. Currently, I'm working at Google. Before Google, I worked at Facebook for 2 years. And before that, I worked with Amazon for 4 years. And before that, I worked with various other early age startups. So yeah, that's my introduction.
Nice. So the very first question I wanted to ask, like how you got interview opportunity from Facebook London?
Okay. So I had a friend who was working at Facebook at the time, and he said that there is an opportunity. Do you want me to apply there? Do you want me to provide referral? And during that time, I was actively looking for a job opportunity. Like I was working at Amazon, and I was actively looking out for new jobs. Then he referred me at Facebook, and so he used to work in Singapore office. So he referred me for different locations. One location was Singapore, another location was London, and another location was US. Because I've already worked in US location, so I was like more interested in working from a London location. So I chose London location as a like as a that invitation, that referral invitation that I got. So I selected London as my preferred location.
So your first job was like, can you share something about your first job?
Okay. If I tell you about my first job, so my first job, I got an placement. I basically got placed from my college directly. I studied from IIT Roorkee, and in IITs generally the placements are really good. So this particular company's name is commonfloor.com. So people might know about Common Floor through a web series called Permanent Roommates. So they are the producer of that first web series, right? So that company, that was a housing search company based out of Bangalore, and that was my first company. I got internship and placement, both of them during college placement session. That was my first company. And after that, I mostly worked with very early startups, and most of these startups are shut down nowadays. Like they're not available, they're not working anymore. But one of the startups that I worked with is still functioning is Move in Sync. So Move in Sync is basically my second job. So after
even our
Move in Sync, a lot
company
of
also
people,
yeah,
Google also uses Move in Sync's service to provide cab allocation, right? So that was my second company. So my first company was Common Floor. The second company was Move in Sync. And there was one more company I worked with called Shotang. That company is no longer in existence. Like they shut down their operations because of the funding issues. So that was another company I worked with, and then after I struggled with all these startups, and none of these startups were able to make big, and they got shut down. Even Comfloor got shut down. It was basically acquired by Quaker, and it got shut down. So after that, I decided to move to a more stable organization, and that's when I moved to Amazon. So Amazon was like my first stable company where I spent almost 4.5 years there. And after spending 4.5 years, then I thought, why not? Let's say explore more companies, and that's when I got offer from Facebook, and then I joined Facebook.
Okay. So you worked at Amazon India or Amazon US?
So I was basically working for Amazon India, but during my work, I have also spent significant amount of time in US as well.
So can you share what kind of question they asked in your Facebook interview? Like, can you share something like step by step, what will be a question in the first round, second round, or something like this?
Sure. So basically, so when the first thing is recruiter reached out to me to schedule the interviews. The first thing that they did is took a screening round. So in screening round, they basically ask simple DSA based problems. So they asked me a problem based on a graph. It was a simple problem. which is using the concepts of in degrees and out degrees in a graph. So that was their first question. And after I was able to solve that problem, they scheduled my on-site interviews, the final round of interviews. And before that, so they asked me like, how much time do you need to prepare for your final rounds? Okay. And they sent me this study materials, and they created a Facebook portal. Like there is a Facebook career portal in which you have bunch of around 50-60 DSA questions are there. And they asked me to practice these 50-60 questions. And they also gave me the topics that are expected during DSA interviews. Also, they asked me one more thing, that you want to give an interview because it's a senior level role. It was an E5 role at Facebook. So they asked me that you also have to give a system design interview. And for that, you have two options. One is you want to give a product design interview or a system design interview. Product design interview is more around, how would you build a product? And system design interview is all about the scalability part of it, how you scale a product to, or a system to a very, like, which handles millions of users and all that. So I've chosen system design. So basically they said that then you are going to have 3 coding round and 1 system design round. And then 1 final behavioral round will also be there. So in total, there will be 5 rounds. And they asked me to they gave me a list of dates on which the interviewers are available, and they asked me to choose the dates. Okay. And then based on that, I've chosen my preferred dates, and then the interview was scheduled. Then in the first round, the question was based on, it was an array based question. It was using concepts of array as well as binary search. So both concepts needs to be applied. Also in the problem, it was not very clear that this is a problem of binary search because the array was not sorted. So it was a little bit, I could say, a tricky problem to solve. So that was one. Then in the second round, they started with a very simple question. Like the question was very basic. Even I can share the question as well. The question was so easy. So they said that, if there is a list of houses and we know the height of each house, okay, and they have on one side they have like a sea. So from which house the sea will be visible? So let's say if you have a house and if you have another house which has a lower height than this, then this house will not be able to see the sea view, right? This house has a sea view. So you need to print all the houses which has the sea view. That was a very basic question. So they kept on extending the same problem. Once I solved this, then they asked another follow up on that. And I realized that that was kind of a warm up problem. Like it was supposed to be solved in 3-4 minutes because it's a very basic question. And then they asked more difficult problems, which are based on, again, it was based on array. It is using concepts of hash maps. It is using concept of uh, like within the array, how can we use the array itself as a hash map? So that concepts are getting used. Another in the third round, it was more around the graph problem. So the concepts like DFS, VFS are used to solve that problem. Also, there was one more question which was based on topological sorting. So these are the topics that were covered during my technical coding round interviews, which was basically based on DSA. So you can say binary search, arrays, uh, BFS, DFS, graph, tree, and topological sorting. These are the major topics that were covered during my interviews. So that was all about the DSA interview. And then I had a system design interview. In the system design interview, they asked me to develop a feature available on Instagram, a specific feature. When somebody goes uh, live on Instagram, during that time, how would you develop that entire system? So that was my system design interview. And the behavioral interviews are the standard behavioral based interview, just to check how good you are as a team player, how would you handle conflicts in your team. All those kind of behavioral situational based questions were there during behavioral interview.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I observed, like many of the students used to ask which kind of question that particular company ask, but in from your interview experience, I observed that they have touched every topic. Even for the DSA, they have asked question from their like graph, they have asked question from bind research, like they have touched even array and everything. So you can't generalize any
Correct.
interview like this company asks a question from this particular topic. They can ask question from anywhere. So You can
Right,
see this
right,
from this
absolutely.
interview experience.
Absolutely. So what happens like Facebook interview? So I'll tell you one interesting thing. What I observed a difference between the Google interview and the Facebook interview. So Facebook interview was more about speed, how quickly you can solve the problem. The question level was not going to be very tough. They are simple questions, but they want you to, and the interview is just for 35 minutes. Okay.
Yes,
So within
nice.
35 minutes, they expect you to solve 2 to 3 problems in 35 minutes. So it's more about speed. That there's not much stress on finding the most optimal solution. Definitely, you have to provide most optimal solution, but there's not much stress on that. So you keep on solving the problem. They expect you to write code pretty fast without any errors and all that. Uh, on the contrary, Google interview is mostly about finding the best solution, like keeping your standards very high, have very good modular code, and almost kind of a perfect solution. And they have just one question and have multiple follow up questions on that. And how do you write a production ready code and all those they also have a conversation around the scalability part of it, like how would you scale this solution to millions of users and all that. So in that sense, like Facebook interview and Google interview is slightly different. So if you are planning for a Facebook interview, mostly just focus on solving easy to medium level questions and just focus more on developing good speed, because sometimes they expect you to solve 3 problems in 35 minutes, which is like every question you need to solve in 10 minutes, and in 10 minutes you have to provide solution, get you need to convince the interviewer that this is the best solution that I can come up with. Then you write the code, then you write the test cases, then you do a dry run, then you do time complexity analysis. All those things you need to do in 10 minutes. So that speed you need to develop for Facebook interview. But in terms of syllabus wise, Google and Facebook both have exactly the same syllabus. And as you mentioned, right, Facebook touched almost all the topics that we study in DSA. It's because that like they took 3 or 4 rounds, right? If we include a screening round as well, so there are basically 4 rounds that they took, and all the 4 rounds uh, are DSA rounds, and each round they tried to cover 2 problems, and in 2 of the interview they tried to cover three problems. So basically, 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So basically, they cover 10 problems. So with 10 problems, they can cover a wide variety of data structures and algorithms. So that was happening. So you basically have to solve around 10 problems to crack Facebook interview, right?
Yeah, so the one major takeaway what I can get from this podcast is कि you should practice. Like अगर आपको speed चाहिए, then also you need to practice. If you want to build up the like in-depth concept understanding, then also you need to do practice. Yeah.
बिल्कुल,
So
बिल्कुल.
like it
एग्जैक्टली
was really
प्रैक्टिस तो कॉमन है,
interesting.
प्रैक्टिस वाला पार्ट, राइट, प्रैक्टिस वाला पार्ट तो ऑलमोस्ट कॉमन है दोनों कंपनीज में.
Correct.
प्रैक्टिस तो करोगे, जब तक प्रैक्टिस नहीं करोगे तो फिर आपकी डेप्थ भी डेवलप नहीं हो पाएगी, और प्रैक्टिस नहीं करोगे तो स्पीड भी डेवलप नहीं हो पाएगी. दोनों चीजों को डेवलप करने के लिए प्रैक्टिस बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है.
Correct, correct. Yeah, so it was really interesting interview experience. So I personally never gave Facebook interview experience. I always wanted to do, but what I observed कि India में ज़्यादा वो like openings नहीं आती है as compared to other company. So getting interview opportunity from Facebook is itself a big achievement.
Right. So, India में actually में उनका they don't have any development office in India. That's why there's very few job openings in India, right? There's basically no job openings for software engineers in India. So if you
Hmm.
want to work for Facebook, then mostly the options you have is either Singapore or London or US. Now the problem is most of the candidates, most of the students think that how can a company directly hire us from India, right? Whether we should, and because of that, most of the people don't even apply. I guess आपने भी शायद इसी वजह से नहीं अप्लाई किया होगा कि
Yeah,
मैं अप्लाई
correct.
करूंगी तो क्या पता कुछ है तो है नहीं यहाँ पे इनका, तो होगा क्या, राइट? बट ऐसा नहीं है. मतलब फेसबुक जो है जैसे लंदन में, वो इंडिया से काफी ज्यादा हायरिंग करता है ना. तो आप सबसे अच्छा तरीका है फेसबुक के जो रिक्रूटर्स हैं, एक्टिव रिक्रूटर्स हैं, आप उनको रीच आउट करो, उनसे बोलो कि आई एम लुकिंग फॉर अ जॉब चेंज एंड दिस इज माय प्रोफाइल, इज देयर एनी ओपनिंग इन फेसबुक करंटली, फेसबुक लंदन. तो वो बेसिकली आपको आपकी प्रोफाइल देखते हैं, अगर आपको शॉर्टलिस्ट करते हैं, दे माइट शेड्यूल अ कॉल विथ यू। आप अगर उसमें अच्छा परफॉर्म करते हैं, उनको कन्विंस कर पाते हैं दैट यू आर वेरी वेल प्रिपेयर्ड। देखिए, रिक्रूटर को क्या चाहिए? रिक्रूटर को ये मतलब नहीं है कि आप कितने अच्छे डेवलपर हैं। उसको बस इस बात से मतलब होता है कि आप इंटरव्यू क्रैक कर सकते हो कि नहीं। अगर आप
करेक्ट
रिक्रूटर को ये
करेक्ट।
कन्विंस कर दो कि आप इंटरव्यू क्रैक कर सकते हो, तो वो आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी ज़रूर ज़रूर देगा, आपको ज़रूर चांस देंगे रिक्रूटर्स। तो उस तरीके से आप सीधे डायरेक्टली लंदन के लिए, यूरोप में भी 2-3 जगह पे फेसबुक के ऑफिसेज़ हैं, लाइक आयरलैंड में फेसबुक का ऑफिस है, एम्स्टर्डम में फेसबुक का ऑफिस है, तो आप डायरेक्टली वहाँ पे अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। और ये मत सोचिए कि मेरे पास वीज़ा है, पासपोर्ट है, नहीं है, उससे कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता। आपका अगर एक बार सिलेक्शन हो जाता है, तो एक पूरी टीम है फेसबुक की, जो आपका पूरा जो माइग्रेशन प्रोसेस है, यहाँ से रिलोकेशन प्रोसेस है, वो पूरा वो हैंडल करते हैं। आपका वीज़ा दिलवाना, आपको वहाँ पे कहाँ रुकना है, उसके अरेंजमेंट करना, सारी चीज़ बहुत ही स्मूथ तरीके से होती है। तो बहुत ही अच्छा मेरा एक्सपीरियंस रहा टोटल वहाँ पे जाके रहने का, और रिलोकेशन काफ़ी स्मूथ था। कुछ भी हेक्टिक नहीं था और डिफ़िकल्ट नहीं था। उन्होंने हमें पहले मल्टीपल विज़िट्स दिए, मतलब टिकट्स दिए, ताकि आप पहले लंदन में जाके घूम लो, फिर लो, वहाँ का एनवायरनमेंट देख लो, वहाँ कहाँ रह सकते हैं वो देख लो, कहाँ-कहाँ पे ग्रोसरी शॉप्स हैं। अब अगर किसी के बच्चे हैं, तो वो ये भी देख सकते हैं कि उनके बच्चे कहाँ कौन से स्कूल में जाएँगे, तो आप स्कूल में भी बात कर लो, तो काफ़ी टाइम देती है फेसबुक रिलोकेशन के टाइम पे। आप आराम से 2-3 महीने, 4 महीने ले सकते हो, वहाँ पे सेटल डाउन होने के लिए।
करेक्ट करेक्ट। सो यहाँ पे मैं एक इंटरेस्टिंग लाइक बात शेयर करना चाहती हूँ। सिंस वी वर्क एट सेम ऑर्ग, सो हमारा सीटिंग अरेंजमेंट साइड बाय साइड है। तो वहाँ पे हमारा हमेशा डिस्कशन होता रहता है कि फेसबुक में क्या-क्या पर्क्स मिलती थी, वहाँ का ऑफिस कैसा था एंड अ, हमेशा ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन होता है कि कैसे आप वहाँ पे लाइक हमारे लिए जैसे हम लोग अभी इंडिया में हैं, तो हमारे लिए वो न्यू है कि वो सब एनवायरनमेंट। सो इट वाज़ रियली
राइट।
नाइस डिस्कशन। या
एग्ज़ैक्टली, वो हमेशा मज़ा आता है मेरे को भी कि फेसबुक के और गूगल के मैं पर्क्स कंपेयर करता रहता हूँ। ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर ही पर्क्स हैं। कई कुछ चीज़ों में वो थोड़े बेटर है, कुछ चीज़ों में गूगल थोड़ी बेटर है। ख़ास बात तो मेन सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ ये है, क्योंकि मैं गूगल इंडिया को ही ज़्यादा मैं मतलब अगर मैं मेरे को पर्क्स के बेसिस पे अगर जज करना होगा, तो मैं गूगल इंडिया को ज़्यादा हाई रखूँगा, क्योंकि गूगल इंडिया में हमें खाना इंडियन खाना मिलता है।
करेक्ट
मैं
करेक्ट।
फेसबुक लंदन में था, तो जो हमें ऑफ़िस में खाना मिलता था, वो लंदन के हिसाब से मिलता था, मतलब वहाँ के टेस्ट पैलेट के हिसाब से मिलता था। तो थोड़ा-सा फीका खाना होता था, थोड़ा उतना मसालेदार नहीं होता था।
हुँ, हुँ।
ऑप्शंस वहाँ पे भी बहुत सारे थे, बट मेरे को कभी मज़ा नहीं आता था ऑफ़िस का खाना खाने में। बट यहाँ पे तो काफ़ी अच्छा मतलब काफ़ी अच्छा खाना मिलता है, क्योंकि हमारा देसी खाना मिलता है, और जो जो हम लोग को रेगुलर बेसिस पे पसंद है, दाल, चावल, रोटी, सब्ज़ी, ये वाली सारी चीज़ें बड़ी अच्छे से मिलती है। तो मेरे को वो लगता है कि मैंने उस सेंस में, लाइक फूड वाले पर्क्स में तो डेफिनिटली गूगल मच बेटर है। बट फेसबुक में एक अलग से पर्क्स था कि जिसमें आप वीकेंड पे अगर कहीं फ्रेंड्स के साथ घूमने जा रहे हैं, जैसे मूवी देखने जा रहे हैं, या कोई आप बॉलिंग करने गए, बॉलिंग एले में, या कहीं पे गेमिंग कोई सेक्शन है, वहाँ पे कुछ गेम्स खेलने गए। तो अगर आप ऐसा कुछ भी करने जाते हो एज़ अ ग्रुप, आप फेसबुक के 4-5 इंजीनियर मिलके, तो वो एक्टिविटीज़ का जितना भी खर्चा है, वो आप रिइम्बर्स करा सकते थे वहाँ पे। तो
नाइस।
वहाँ पे ये होता था कि ह हर वीकेंड फ्रेंड्स, तो आपके ना उससे फ्रेंड्स बहुत
सो
अच्छे बनते थे
फेसबुक
कंपनीज़ में।
आपका वीकेंड से स्पॉन्सर कर रहे थे। अभी हमारा वीकडेज़
हाँ,
गूगल स्पॉन्सर करता है बट आपके फेसबुक वीकेंड से स्पॉन्सर कर रहे थे।
हाँ, वीकेंड्स भी स्पॉन्सर करते थे। वीकेंड्स पे आप कोई भी एक्टिविटी करो, तो आप अपना जाओ, जो भी आपका बिल बनेगा वो आप रिइम्बर्स करा सकते हो, वो रिफंड हो जाता था। उसके बाद में आप कोई रेगुलरली कोई गेम खेलना चाहते हो, तो उसकी लेट्स से कि मुझे क्रिकेट का बहुत शौक था। तो क्रिकेट खेलने के लिए जितना भी खर्चा आता था, ग्राउंड बुकिंग करना, क्रिकेट की जो किट्स खरीदना, और बहुत महँगी आती हैं सब चीज़ें, बैट, बॉल, लेदर की बॉल्स वगैरह, तो सब काफ़ी एक्सपेंसिव इक्विपमेंट्स थे। तो ये सारे इक्विपमेंट्स, ग्राउंड बुक कराना लंदन जैसी जगह पे, वहाँ पे वो भी बहुत एक्सपेंसिव था। अंपायर की फीस, और आप जब खेलने जाओगे तो जो भी आपका खाना-वाना होगा उसका खर्चा, वो सारी चीज़ें भी फेसबुक स्पॉन्सर करती थी। तो वहाँ पे वो चीज़ें मेरे को काफ़ी अच्छी लगती थी कि एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ के लिए फेसबुक काफ़ी मतलब रिइम्बर्समेंट करा सकते हैं, और काफ़ी अच्छे पर्क्स थे। वो थोड़ा वहाँ पे मेरे को लगता है कि बेटर था। बाकी
एक्चुअली
खाना यहाँ का
अ,
बेटर है।
ये पर्क्स मुझे ना माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में मिली थी। लाइक इवन एट
हाँ।
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट आई यूज्ड टू गेट रिइंबर्समेंट फॉर माय स्पोर्ट्स शूज़। सो आई
हाँ,
गॉट
हाँ,
लाइक
एग्ज़ैक्टली।
3-4 लाइक आई एम द काइंड ऑफ पर्सन जो एक शूज़ में पूरा साल लाइक मेरा चला जाता था। लेकिन सिंस आई वाज़ एट
हाँ,
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट आई बॉट लाइक 2-3 पेयर ऑफ शूज़ जस्ट बिकॉज़ वी गॉट द रिइंबर्समेंट।
करेक्ट। वो मेरी करंटली मतलब माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के पर्क्स बहुत अच्छे हैं, और मतलब इन सब कंपनीज के ऑलमोस्ट वही है, आगे पीछे ही चलता रहता है इनके पर्क्स, किसी का बेटर है, किसी का कुछ बेटर है, किसी का कुछ बेटर है। जैसे माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का आप बता रहे हो, तो मेरी वाइफ माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में काम करती है, तो उसको भी मिलते रहते हैं ये वाले पर्क्स। तो मेरे को पता है कि वहाँ पे शूज वगैरह और ये सारी चीजें आप रिम्बर्स करा सकते हो।
Nice. So in this video we discussed about Facebook interview experience. So अगर आपको Google interview experience भी चाहिए तो comment section में आप comment करो. So very soon we will be publishing Google interview experience as well. Yeah, so that's all about this podcast. Thank you so much, Rohit, for sharing very valuable information. So next video hogi part 2 of this video, where we will discuss Google interview experience and most interesting part, why he shifted from London to India. So recently I was reading some article of Times of India, and I was just wonder कि अभी इंडिया में रिवर्स माइग्रेशन हो रहा है, जो भी इंडिया से यूएसए टाइम पे गए थे स्टडी के लिए, वर्क के लिए, दे आर कमिंग बैक टू इंडिया. And in my office also, so many people who worked at USA currently just moved back to India. uh, of course there is some reason, so we will discuss everything in the next part of this video. So thank you so much for attending this podcast, and thank you, Rohit.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू अमृतांजलि।